Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 12th annual celebration in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The celebration this evening is being held by the Mamaroneck-Larchmont Human Rights Commission. We're particularly proud to announce this tonight, and the significance of being named Mamaroneck-Larchmont Human Rights Commission is that we are now not a group of 3 different commissions putting on a performance or sponsoring this program, but we are now a single human rights commission representing the 3 municipalities: the village of Larchmont, the village of Mamaroneck, and the town of Mamaroneck. And that is thanks to the efforts of Mayor Louie, Mayor Lanza, and Supervisor Price, and thanks to the special efforts of Town Councilwoman Phyllis Whitner. So, once more, welcome. And I could say to you, welcome to the first Mamaroneck-Larchmont Human Rights Commission program in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. But from whatever points of view, we have been holding this program for 12 years. And we continue to be impressed by your commitment and dedication and your very willingness to at times actually be a part of the program. Thank you, audience. Thank you very much. I would like to renew with you a little bit about the Human Rights Commission. As a local Human Rights Commission, it is our responsibility to foster mutual respect among all groups in our community. This can often be done through public education programs and community projects. It is also our responsibility to seek to resolve bias complaints which are brought before the Commission, complaints of discrimination based on race, ethnicity, religion, or gender. If these complaints cannot be resolved by us at the local level, referrals are made to the State Division of Human Rights Commission, which, as some of you may know, is tremendously backlogged. One reason why our county legislators are exploring the possibility of establishing a Westchester County Human Rights Commission. Our Mamaroneck-Larchmont Human Rights Commission regularly meets monthly from September through June. That's not set in stone. We have met in August. The public is invited to attend at any time, whether or not there is an issue that you wish to present. But if you do have an issue, please do not hesitate to approach the Commission. Now, for the beginning of our program this evening. The theme this evening, a question, Dr. King's Dream, Prophecy for the New Millennium. While we all anticipate tremendous technological advances in the new millennium, who among us is able to state that they also envision tremendous advances in human relations. It was Dr. King who asked, "How long? How long?" If we are to survive, we must all listen closely and act on Dr. King's teachings. I would now like to ask Rabbi Siegelman to come and give the invocation. And following the invocation, the Judah Chorale will lead us in Lift Every Voice and Sing. Would you please remain standing for that hymn? Thank you.
Dearest God, I wonder how you feel when you see your children mistreating each other. I know how I feel when I see my children mistreating each other. It's a painful experience. If the children were babies, we could intervene. But when the children are grown-ups, what can you do? God, you must ask yourself, why are they doing this? Why are they acting like this? Didn't they listen to me? Didn't they pay attention when I said, love your neighbor as yourself? Don't they know they're brothers and sisters? Why do they act like enemies? But every so often, too rarely indeed, a person arises who reminds us of God's law of love, that we are brothers and sisters, and there can be no room for hatred. We remember such a man tonight. Dr. King reminded us that we have one God, and as such, we are one family. Dr. King made us face our fears and our prejudices and understand that with the love of God we can overcome them. Dr. King cast the light of God on this country and removed some of the shadows of hatred. Some, but not all. And that is why we are here tonight, dear God, to make sure that Dr. King's divine message lives beyond him. May we in our small communities hearken to God's light, which Dr. King's legacy has given us, and may we in our words and our deeds spread that light of peace, of love amongst ourselves and to all who we will meet. Amen.
Welcome, welcome to Martin Luther King Jr. Awards ceremony. If you've been coming, you know what I do here. I'm the one who gives out the proclamations. I'm the one who tells you who's here. Ah, I hear people laughing, they know me. But as usual, we have wonderful people in our audience because they are our neighbors. And we also have our dignitaries. And we also have our politicians. And we also have our children and our students. And we have the total community with us tonight. I will read the names very quickly. They're not in order of priority. They are mixed, so I don't want anyone to feel badly. If I didn't get your name, your neighbor, please raise your hand and let me know. Dr. Sherry King, Superintendent of the Mamaroneck School System. I see you. Elaine Price, Supervisor, Town of Mamaroneck. I don't see you, Elaine. There you are. Paul Ryan, Councilman, Town of Mamaroneck. Glad to see you up and out again. Martha McCarthy, Trustee, Village of Mamaroneck. I know you're probably busy working someplace. There you are. Dr. Barbara Ferraro, Principal of Rhinebeck High School. Where are you? I saw you earlier. Thank you. But there's a board meeting, that's why the superintendent couldn't attend. Cheryl Louis, my mayor, Village of Larchmont. Barbara Bennett Rones. Where are you, Barbara? This year I pronounced your name correctly. Last year I made a mess of it. Phyllis Whitner, dedicated liaison to the Human Rights Commission. Where are you, Phyllis? Barbara Stein, representing our wonderful Congresswoman, Nita Lowy. Where are you, Barbara? There you are. Valerie O'Keefe, Councilwoman, Town of Mamaroneck, always on cue. Phil Trifoletti. Where are you, Phil? I don't know you. Oh, okay, now I know you, Phil. Village of Mamaroneck. Glad to meet you. Mike Sedano. I know Mike. Where are you, Mike? Yeah, I know Mike for years. Everybody knows Mike, right. April Farber, liaison to the Human Rights Commission from the Board of Education. Where are you? There you are. Wait, all of you guys got together up there? You're supposed to spread yourselves around. And George Latimer. George didn't know I saw him when he came in, the county head of the Board of Legislators. Now, if there's someone here whom I did not mention, or is it who I didn't mention, please look to your right, look to your left, and tell me if I left out someone. Harold Wolfson is here also. Hi, Harold. Anyone that I missed? Mary Lawrence, Vice Principal of Hommocks. Hi, how are you? My children left Hommocks so many years ago, so I don't know you. I hate to tell you how many years. Selena Griffith, how are you, Selena, darling? Welcome, welcome. Selena has been a fighter for human rights. I don't want to say before I was born, Selena, but for a long time. Now I will show you the proclamations. I won't read them because, you know, they killed me one year when I read them. This is the congressional proclamation from Nita Lowy, and it is for the Mamaroneck-Larchmont Human Rights Commission, and it is for the person who exemplifies by his or her deeds as a volunteer a dedication to others which transcends the efforts of most mortals. And our recipient tonight absolutely fulfills those words. You'll meet Lee later. And this is the one for Cops and Kids, a wonderful program that is being nurtured in our community. It's wonderful when you can get children and police together, where they see that they're both human beings and that they can work together. Wonderful, Mamaroneck. This is from Cheryl Louis, Cops and Kids. This one's from Cheryl Louis again for Lee Bloom. When I first came to Larchmont, Lee was on the town council, and I moved into the village. So I know Lee and I've worked with Lee, and we've had differences of opinions, but he's a wonderful person. The Village of Mamaroneck, the mayor, Cops and Kids program. Mayor Lanza was not able to be here this evening. I see another face from the high school up there. 2. Give me the names. Mike Roush. Yeah, Ron Benizio, looks the same for 25 years. I mean, it's incredible. The man has not aged. Boy, I bet your wife is upset. Office of the Mayor of Mamaroneck for Lee Bloom. And they go on. This is from the town supervisor for Lee Bloom. And notice we have a different color wood now. And of course, for Cops and Kids. And these are all of the official proclamations. But that would not be enough, because Lee touches everyone, not just the officials. We also have one from the Larchmont Gardens Civic Association Incorporated. Lee, Harvey, and Mary Louise Bloom. The Board of Directors and membership of the Larchmont Gardens Civic Association are proud to join the community in honoring you for your continuing community service. Your dedication and time has enhanced our quality of life. Please give a round of applause to our awardees for this evening. Now we are going to see a wonderful video, and I'm supposed to push the magic switch right here. So here it comes. And it's so funny, they're giving me this technology is, not my thing. I still get up and walk across the room and change my channels. I mean, I don't understand this. Why do I need this thing? It's good exercise. I don't live in a mansion. I need this. Did I push it right? We're the young people that work all of this technology. I pushed it. I don't see any light coming on. Pointed at the machine. You see, I don't know how to use it. It's on. Oh, there's the blue light. When I was in school, the blue light meant they were checking for your hair. Oh, some people are my age.
With you. But I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
From 1955 to 1968, Martin Luther King led a peaceful 20th century American Revolution. In the short span of 13 years, the nonviolent civil rights movement which he headed changed the face of American society. It united black people in organized, nonviolent protest which exposed the evils of white racism. Segregation, which had been a way of life for large parts of the nation, was practically eliminated. Full freedom was not won, but more was accomplished in those 13 years than in the previous 100 including the enactment of federal legislation to protect the rights of black citizens.
Wherever, by clear and objective standards, states and counties are using regulations or laws or tests to deny the right to vote, then they will be struck down.
Using nonviolent, direct action, mixed groups of whites and blacks, mostly students, challenged segregation on interstate buses and places of public accommodation throughout the South. The sit-ins and freedom rides were a new version of an old and respected American tradition, the right to protest for right, and resulted in the first attempts at federal civil rights legislation.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Economic injustice was another kind of injustice. Before his death, Dr. King had begun to build a coalition of the underprivileged of various ethnic groups, the Poor People's Campaign, to fight for economic equality.
It is my hope that power for poor people will really mean having the ability and the aggressiveness to make the power structure of this nation say yes when they may be desirous of saying no. We will get together and be together, black people, Mexican Americans, American Indians, Puerto Ricans, Appalachian whites, all working together to solve the problem of poverty. We're getting ready to demand jobs and income. We're tired of working full-time jobs for part-time income. All right. We are tired of living in run-down, dilapidated, rat-infested shacks and slums. We are tired of our children having to attend overcrowded, inferior schools. And we are tired of our men not being able to be men because they can't find work. All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. Because somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest for right. I have a dream today. I say to you today, my friend, let freedom ring. When we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
We will now have a musical presentation by the Pace 2 Singers from Mamaroneck High School. The next item on the program is a presentation of a dance called Tripping by the Umoja Club. Shannon Turner Porter, faculty advisor, Mamaroneck High School.
Good evening. The first thing I need something special from the members of Straight Gate, because Amber and Pop are a little nervous. They're going to do a lot of twists, and they said, Miss Porter, all the churches here. So what are we going to do? So I want you to give them a hand of applause and let them do what they're supposed to do, because they have this talent. Thank you. Okay, today I would just like to introduce you. In the past, we've done a lot of poetry, and I told Ms. Russ we want to do something different. Today we had, I'm still in this state of euphoria, we had this wonderful assembly. These young people were a part of it for the school. We are missing 2 young people because they had sports and family obligation, but we still will carry on. Our dancers are, and I want you to raise your hand, Dwight Hartware, all right, Karen Flynn, Janae Smith, Amber Power, William Pop Chisholm, and my son and pride of joy, Lamar Williams. At this time, they will dance. And my Crystal, I'm sorry, Brody Stewart, dancer. Thank you. I don't know how I forgot Crystal. She is one of the most reliable of my members and very, very good. So I apologize, but you understand. Okay, at this time, we will watch them dance to a song called Trippin' by Total.
Bad Boy 98. Total. Kima, Keisha, Pam, Missy. Talk to me. Yeah. Bad boy. My mic sounds nice. Check 2. Me and you. FF. I'm gonna make them go deaf. Make you say, who that? I'm Total. Shit. Fast gas, Kima, Keisha, and Pam. Oh, shit. Man, how you should you cram it or slam it, man, right? I'ma jam it. no competition.
And we won't stop. And we won't stop.
You got me, you got me.
And we won't stop. And we won't stop.
You got me, bitch, you got me.
Baby, you know that you got me tripping. You see I'm moving, baby, I'm moving. Baby, you know that you got me tripping. You see I'm moving, baby, I'm moving.
Bad boy 98. Bad boy 98.
Stay right there. I just want to tell you the choreographers of this dance, Amber and Pop, are the people who created this dance. Thank you very much.
The next group of performers call their presentation the stage presentation. And they are the students from Rhinebeck High School. The title of their presentation is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a message that spans generations.
We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. Procrastination is a thief of time. Life often leaves us standing, bare, naked, and dejected, with the loss of opportunity. The tide in affairs of men does not remain at the flood. It ebbs. We may cry out desperately for the time to pause in her passage, but time is deaf to every plea and rushes on. Over the bleached bones and jumbled residues of numerous civilizations are written the pathetic words, too late. There is an invisible book of life that faithfully records our vigilance or our neglect. The moving finger writes, and having writs move on. We still have a choice today, nonviolent coexistence or violent co-annihilation. This will meet mankind's last chance to choose between chaos and community.
Mankind has had many chances to choose the best path toward nonviolent coexistence. But, as Dr. King points out, we must learn our lessons and seize our remaining opportunities. If we are to carry his message into the new millennium, we might want to consider those who have experience in this regard. In 1993, Amy Hill Harth published Having Our Say, a chronicle of the lives of Sadie and Bessie Delaney, two sisters born 1889 and 1891 respectively. Both sisters were over 100 years old when they recollected the life histories that bridged 2 centuries. Bessie Delaney was a licensed dentist who was never afraid to confront her opposition.
People didn't take kindly to a colored woman being a dentist, and they weren't shy about letting me know. Once, around 1925, I was invited to a medical conference at the Hotel Pennsylvania
in Manhattan. I remember I borrowed Sadie's horsehair turban. I thought it made me look real attractive, real professional-like. Anyways, when I got there, I went up to the front desk and introduced myself as a doctor who was to attend the conference. Well, this white fella, he just looked at me like I was some little monkey that had just fallen out of a tree, landed in his soup, and ruined his day. I asked him for directions to the meeting. He gave me directions, all right. Directions to the men's bathroom. When I found myself standing outside the men's bathroom instead of the conference, I was so filled with rage that I couldn't even move. Thankfully, a friend of mine from medical school came along and saved me from total humiliation. He was white. He said, "Bessie Delaney, what are you doing here?" And he took me by the arm and led me to the conference like I was the Queen of England.
Sadie, a New York City public school teacher with a master's degree from Columbia University, was more introspective and forgiving. Her approach was to ignore discrimination with dignity and demonstrate good character.
Personally, I never had any desire to be white. I am absolutely comfortable with who I am. I used to laugh at how both races seem to hate their hair. All these Negro ladies would run out and get their hair straightened, and all these white ladies would run out and get their hair curled. My hair was in between, with a little kink in it, just enough to give it body. I had no desire to change it. I had no desire to change me. I guess I owe that to my mom and papa. This same teacher, who used to wonder why I didn't just try to pass, turned out to be a fair-weathered friend. Once, she and I had planned to go swimming, and she said to wait under the clock at noon. And so I did. But coincidentally, some other white girl she knew showed up right when she arrived. So she just snubbed me. She didn't want them to know we were friends, so she just left me standing there and walked on past with them. She was so obvious that there really wasn't anything to do but laugh it off and forget about it. I remained on friendly terms with that woman. Bessie says I wouldn't have had nothing more to do with her this side of glory. This is the kind of thing that drives Bessie wild. Bessie would have given her a piece of her mind. Sure, it annoyed me, but I didn't let it ruin my day. Life is short, and it's up to you to make it sweet.
The Delaney sisters have shown perseverance through long life experience facing racism. The challenge of the present is to pass the torch of hope from the old to the young, not to start anew, but to finish the task of integrating people divided by color. From Rhineck's 5th grade reading list, Jerry Spinelli's book, Maniac McGee, is the story of a naive white orphan living in a black urban neighborhood. Maniac's colorblind perspective on people puts him in some uncomfortable situations.
You move on now, Whitey. Pick up your gear and get going. I am home. Listen, son. Go back to your own kind. I saw you at your block party.
This is where I live. I live at 728 Sycamore.
It's never enough, huh, Whitey? You always wanting more and more. You won't even let us enjoy the little water on our street. You just come to see the Bojangles, to come to the zoo, the monkey house.
I live at 728 Sycamore. I do.
This is how you wanted it, so let's keep it that way. Now move on now.
I can't understand why these EastEnders call themselves black. I keep looking and looking, and the colors that I see are ginger snap, light fudge, dark fudge, acorn, butter rum, burnt orange. But never licorice, which to me is truly black. I've looked myself over time and time again and have come up with at least 7 different shades and colors, and none of them happen to be white. The only part of me that I consider to be white are my eyeballs, which aren't any whiter than the kids at the East Ends.
If the youth of today and the adults of tomorrow can think more like Maniac, there's a chance that we can fulfill Dr. King's dream of community over chaos. Our final words are a timeless source of hope from Maya Angelou.
A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream until the current ends and dips his wing in the orange sun's rays and dares to claim the sky. But the bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still. And his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, the trade wind softly through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. The caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts like a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied. So he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still. And his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom.
The Judah Chorale will now sing two selections for us, which their Minister of Music, Dana Powell, will announce.
walk worthy. My calling to fulfill. Please order my steps, Lord, and I'll do your blessed will. The world is ever changing, but you are still the same. If you order my steps, I'll praise your name. I want to walk worthy. My calling to fulfill. Please order my steps, Lord, and I'll do your blessed will. The world is ever changing, but you are still the same. If you order my steps, I'll praise your name. Order my steps in your word. Order my tongue in your word. Guide my feet in your word. Wash my heart in your word. Show me how to walk in your word. Show me how to talk in your word. When I need a brand new song to sing, show me how to let your presence ring in your word, in your word. Please order my steps in your word. Please order my steps in your word. Order my steps in your word. Order my tongue in your word. Guide my feet in your word. Wash my heart in your word. Show me how to walk in your word. Show me how to talk in your word. When I need a brand new song to sing, when I need a brand new song to sing, when I need a brand new song to sing, show me how to let your praises ring in your word, in your word. Please order my steps in your word. Please order my steps in your word. Please order my steps in your word. Please wash my heart in your word. Please wash my heart in your word. Please order my steps in your word.
I think I'm supposed to do something, but I can't. I have to say amen. Okay. Good evening. My name is Bruce Williams, and I'm a member of the Mamaroneck-Larchmont Human Rights Commission, representing the village of Mamaroneck, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker this evening, the Honorable Andrea Stewart Cousins, Westchester County Legislator for the 16th District. In her third year on the County Board of Legislatures, Andrea Stewart Cousins has emerged as one of the most influential members of the 17-member board. As the first black woman elected to represent the racially and ethnically diverse Southwest Yonkers community, Mrs. Stewart Cousins has been an outspoken and passionate voice for both equality of life, for quality of life and, more importantly, equality of life for the nearly 1 million Westchester County residents. She serves as chair of the board's powerful legislation committee and as a member of the budget committee has spearheaded the move to create Westchester County's first county-wide human rights commission. In addition, she has been a major contributor to the recently passed county budget, which for the first time in history reflects a real commitment to protecting, educating, and celebrating diversity in Westchester County. Could say a few more things about the budget. If you read the material you received at your house from the county chairman, you know that the budget is unique in a number of ways. First of all, it was not only passed on time, but a full 2 weeks early. The budget was a balanced budget. The budget is a responsible budget in that it retains the AAA bond rating that Westchester County had. More importantly, though, and most important, it provides for a tax levy decrease only the second time in the last 15 years. Prior to serving as chair of the Legislation Committee, Ms. Stewart-Cousins chaired the Health and Medical Center Committee, where among the other accomplishments, she successfully fought for the restoration of jobs to the low-paid medical center workers. She is a former teacher, journalist, and marketing professional, and has served for 4 years as the Yonkers Director of Community Affairs. Ms. Stewart-Cousins is married and has 3 children. She is a certified mediation and conflict resolution specialist and has received her teaching certificate in business education. She's a graduate of Pace University and is currently pursuing a master's degree in public administration at Pace University. And in her spare time, she teaches conflict resolution and mediation. Please welcome the Honorable Andrea Stewart-Cousins.
Okay, so let the house say amen. You know, I got to tell you, I don't. You would think I teach mediation because of the board, but I don't actually. I teach meditation, which is what I need to survive on the board. Let me tell you, you know. I really want to thank you for inviting me here this evening because it has been very, very, very uplifting. I think the past 3 or 4 days we all go to so many King celebrations, but this one I will always remember because it is so special. Your children are so talented and the audience so warm, and the Judah Choir, you are wonderful. So please give everybody a hand. And I want to tell you, I did not put in all of that budget information because that is the work of your representative, our chairman, George Latimer, who has really kept it together. Thank you, George. When I told George that I was invited to come here this evening, George is wonderful. He's a teacher. And he sat me down, and he brought me to the map, and he showed me, this is Mamaroneck, this is the unincorporated part of Mamaroneck, this is Larchmont, there's X number thousand, 17,000 here, 6,000 there. You got the folks up here, got the money, and this and that. Oh, I mean, he didn't give me names, though. But he ran it down, which community, how it worked, how you interacted, and what he told me was that you were, as I see you, and as Dr. King would want to see us, a beloved community. That's what you reflect. When I look out and I see the faces black and white, and I'll tell you something, in most of the King celebrations that I go to, I don't see this diversity. for some reason, folks feel like it's a black holiday, not understanding the depth of Dr. King's message. And it's not. And when I come here, I see, as Dr. King said, faces black and white, but really only one face, and that's the face of the future. And that's what I'm here to talk about, because the commission had given me the opportunity to answer the question. Dr. King's dream, prophecy for the new millennium, big question mark. And when I came in, I tell you, I was nervous because I saw the film there, and I said, well, maybe they already did it. They've already decided whether it's prophecy or not. They've done my job. But no, they really set the stage, these wonderful and talented students. And we obviously have the question to answer. So I'm going to answer it. Yes, it's a prophecy. Yes. So I don't get to sit down, huh? You know, I thought about why I think it's a prophecy, and I think of my son. I have 3 children, and my 19-year-old was very reluctantly involved in high school, very reluctantly. He went, he did what he had to do, but he was not interested at all. And so I came in one day and I see Stephen, and he's huddled by the TV set, and he's got the pillow wrapped around himself, and he's staring at the TV set, and so on and so forth. And it was one of those prophecy, the guy used to be the man from Uncle Comes, and he does the prophecies, and that California's going to drift off into the ocean, and the world's going to end, and so on. And Stephen, at that point, after that show, confessed to me that a lot of his disinterest was about, what does it matter? We're not going to be here. The year 2000 is done. Why the effort? So Stephen graduated from high school just in '97, and he started working because, you know, there's no point getting a degree for the time that you're not going to be here. Why do that? So he started working, and the next thing, my son Steve, my Timberland Steve, my oversized shirt Steve, is wearing $40 silk ties. He's got a shirt for every color, for every day. He's traded his Timberlands for Florsheim. I can't believe it. And now he's saving money. He's planning for his car. He's got a couple of people calling who he didn't have calling before. You know what I mean. And I'm saying, Stephen, what about next year? You still think the world's going to end? So he said, nah, I don't think so. No. I don't believe that anymore. I think the world is going to continue after the year 2000. So I said, okay, I heard that. He has a vested interest now. He's invested in what's going to happen in the year 2000. He doesn't care what he's seeing, what the prophecy is, because he has a vested interest, and it's going to happen for him the way he wants it to happen. And that's why I stand beside right here saying that I believe it's a prophecy. I have a vested interest. I'm still a black woman in America, regardless of where I stand, not unlike Bessie Delaney, still have challenges, still have to fight for my place, still have to make sure people recognize that I'm not the secretary. They walk in my office. They see my name. Andrea Stewart Cousins, Chair, Legislation Committee, and walk up to me and say, are you the secretary? I say, uh-huh. And that's it. And so I guess they feel I'm incompetent as well. But, so from where I am, we obviously have a long, long way to go. But that's my personal thing. That's why I think it's a prophecy. But I had to obviously go back to Dr. King's life. And Dr. King's life showed the man was a prophet. He was a visionary. He was a hero. He was a courageous man who saw. We all know the mountaintop speech saying that he has seen the promised land. Dr. Weaver from New Rochelle, Pastor Weaver, he says, the promised land, they keep moving it though. We all see the promised land, and every time black people get closer, it's moved. But when Dr. King said he saw the promised land, he also told the audience, I won't get there with you. That's not important. I won't get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. Within a day, he was dead. He knew he was not going to get there. This man was a prophet. He told his wife when he watched the JFK assassination, when he watched Jackie Kennedy trying to pull her husband's shattered skull on her lap, he turned around to Coretta and he said, Corey, that's going to be me. I'm not going to make it to my 40th year. That's a prophet. He died at 39. But beyond that, what was really extraordinary in my research was what he said in 1955 when he was talking to people who had yet to begin to start putting their lives on the line, yet to begin to start fighting dogs and hoses and fighting, sacrificing, offering themselves up, laying their bodies down for the cause of civil rights. Before that, in 1955, Dr. King had a speech that he called Facing the Challenge of the New Age. And you know Dr. King was not talking about cyberspace. He was not talking about cloning. He was not talking about space travel. Dr. King was talking about segregation gone completely from the land. He was talking about the equality of life in America. And what he was telling the folk was, look, these are the things you have to do. Because get ready, segregation, legalized or not, is finished. It's done, my beloved community. And I'm calling you that because we have to understand we are that. And when we absorb that, we become that. So what he told his audience was, look, this is going to happen. Segregation is gone. Here's what you got to do, though, to hold on. He had the vision to move past what he hadn't seen, the elimination of segregation, to start telling people how you're going to keep it the way it needs to be kept. And what he told the people back then in 1955 was you need political involvement. You need, after the political involvement, you need progressive legislation and progressive legislators. You need education, because you got to have that education to get the economic stability he was just beginning to fight for. And you have to have spiritual awareness. I can't imagine what the people in 1955 thought about when this visionary is sitting there before them saying, look, segregation is done, finished. You're there, your part, you're a player. Here's how you keep it. Political involvement, progressive legislation, education, and spiritual life. I asked my mother, because my mother is 83. She was my age when Dr. King gave his speech in 63. I will not do the math for you. It You'll have to figure it out. But when I asked her what she thought growing up, what was her life, what was this, what did this mean? What did a Dr. King on the scene mean for a woman who was just an ordinary black woman in New York, in the progressive North, growing up in her 20s? And my mother said to me, look, Andre, I'll tell you. She said, all I knew is I was going to be a teacher or a concert pianist. My mother lost her mother when she was 4 years old. She had a father who worked very hard because he had 5 children. She was the only girl. And the man got home, he was tired. You know what he was? He was a janitor. Because that's what you did. My mother's role models were domestic workers and janitors. But my mother decided that she was going to be either a teacher or a concert pianist. Understand that she couldn't work for the phone company. The phone company wasn't hiring black people. That until the riots of 1936, when Adam Clayton Powell decided to intervene, she couldn't work in a department store. The post office might hire black folks, but they could never deliver the mail. I don't know why. It just wasn't allowed. You maybe could be on the police force, but you had to be very politically connected. So now you figure it out. She dropped out of school when she was 14 because she had one skirt and there was a hole in it, and she couldn't replace it. But this woman had decided she was going to be either a teacher or a concert pianist. Ma, where were you going to teach? I don't know. Were you going to be able to teach at a university? Were you going to be able to teach in a school of any renown? I don't know. I didn't think about it. Could you have played, Mom, the piano in Carnegie Hall? No. Where were you going to be a concert pianist? I didn't think about it. What made you stick to that dream? She said, I had faith in myself. I had faith in my God. I didn't know where it was going, but I knew I had me to depend on if it was going to make a change. I was dissatisfied enough with my life to see the options weren't there, and I didn't want to live without hope and without faith, and the dissatisfaction made me move. My mother still plays the piano. She never taught because she just got her high school diploma 15 years ago. But she taught me a lot. She taught me about faith, and she taught me about hope, and she taught me about dissatisfaction, and she taught me that the status quo often just isn't good enough. And so when I look at where we are, and I look at, I've made this proclamation that indeed it's a prophecy that we are facing, and I look at what Dr. King has told us about our involvement politically, and I'm trying to figure out where we've gone wrong, but I'm here as your wake-up call because we're not politically involved. In Westchester County, a county of almost 1 million people, 446,000 are registered to vote. And in the big election of 1996, 192,000 bothered to come out. What is that? Is that the involvement that Dr. King told folk that you better make sure you're in there? Is that it? I don't think so. And how about the progressive legislation, the stuff that's rolling back affirmative action? How about legislators who start reprioritizing? Carl McCall is saying that the average New York State school spends $7,000 on their students, while the average price to keep somebody incarcerated is $80,000 a year. Is that all right? $80,000? So if you screw up, you go to jail, you get 3 square meals, you get your health care, you get to work out, you get shelter, heat, friendship, camaraderie. They spend 80 grand. While kids like these, who we saw tonight, have to scrape to pull together parents' loans, etc., because maybe they won't have an opportunity if they don't have the money to achieve their educational dreams. It doesn't make sense. $700 million more to build prisons, $600 million less for education. That's not progressive legislation. That's not progressive use of our dollars. And even with the Human Rights Commission that we're talking about in Westchester County, I thought it was a no-brainer. I really did. I really did. I chair the legislation department, or rather the legislation committee, and again, Chairman Latimer, a man with a lot of initiatives, said, look, bring the different committees out to the people. Makes sense. I represent Southwest Yonkers. We had seen what had happened with Mamaroneck and the desecration of the synagogue. Texaco is a nightmare. We know what's going on. So I said, rather than come down to Yonkers, you know, when I advanced the idea, well, let's do a countywide Human Rights Commission, rather than go down to Yonkers and talk about I&I, you know, which is about sewer lines and all this, I thought that I'd deal with something that the community could just warm up to. We talk about an issue that matters to my community. Did I expect 40 people lined up to say, we can't find housing, we still can't get promoted, we can't get hearing, we can't get redress? It takes 10 years in a system, maybe they'll find probable cause, and then maybe if I wait a decade, I can get that apartment I wanted. It was, I couldn't believe it. In fact, one reporter came up to me and said, well, you must have had everybody just come. You must have just let only people who were in favor of the Human Rights Commission come. I said, now, come on now. Not even the best director could have done that. Westchester has issues. We have issues. We're in denial, but we've got them. I've had people come in during the committee meetings saying, you mean to tell me if I decide I don't want to hire a woman in my business, I can't just hire a woman? That's not right. I can't say I don't want a woman? No. No, you can't. Do you think that's right? And what about this freedom of religion? Suppose somebody wants to pray at noon facing Mecca, and they're doing work on a scaffold. Suppose your bill just lets them let go of the scaffold and stop the project. Are they going to sue me? These are the kinds of questions. These are the concerns. This is the level of education as we go into the new millennium. This is what we have to do. to bring out ways that we can inform and educate while making sure that people who are subject to the misunderstanding of law or the ignorance of law or the fact that they've got 10 years maybe to work it out. We've got to bring people to a point where folks can be able to get their serious issues redressed. So I thought it was a no-brainer. Hopefully, by next month, we will have legislation passed, and I look forward to working with your Commission on Human Rights to start really working together and supporting one another as we move this forward. And then when we talk about the spiritual awareness part, I think that Dr. King's example of a life that we can see, a life that's grandeur was manifesting on a day-by-day basis, is our best example. At 26, he was leading a movement. He hadn't looked for it. He wasn't planning it. He had a wife. He was a middle-class family, pastor of a church, 2-week-old child. And yet he felt called upon to serve. And when you listen to him, you read what he said, many times he admits, I was afraid. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I was scared. But he was also understanding that God was on his side as he moved forward. That there was no question that righteousness was not going to just roll in, as he said, on the wheels of inevitability. That somebody had to take a stand. And he did it with faith and security that man, that mixture of dust and divinity, was able to reflect, if dissatisfied enough, with enough faith, with enough perseverance, with enough courage, that which God expected of all of us. That brotherhood, that coming together, that respect, and yes, even love for one another. And sometimes you don't have, because I'm not here to preach, and sometimes you can't say, well, I'm believing in this religion or that religion. But Dr. King's mentor in the nonviolent realm, Mahatma Gandhi, had a wonderful thing he said. Gandhi said, I recognize no God except the God that is to be found in the hearts of the dumb millions. And I worship the God of truth through the service of these millions. Service, faith, dissatisfaction. Why do we have to be dissatisfied? Because it's not going to roll in. We've got to make it happen. I have a 15-year-old daughter in addition to the 2 sons. You met Steve earlier. Candace is looking through life through my eyes, through her father's eyes. She's decided she wants to be a culinary artist. She's 15. She told me last week, Mom, I'm working in a 5-star hotel. She hasn't decided whether it's here or Europe, but she doesn't know. But in her mind, there's no reason why she can't do that. None at all. She does not expect there to be a reason. She does not accept there will be a boundary to what she can do. And I'm sure the children out there, Megan and Brian and Justin and Seth and Kwame, they don't expect that. They expect to be able to be judged by the content of their character. But because everything in the future hasn't happened yet, And the past has happened, obviously. The present is where it has to be worked out. The present, obviously, we have the building blocks of the past. We've got to use what we know. We've got to use what we have. Because I can't look at Candace after all this sacrificing, all these years, all this blood, all this pain, all of the generations, black and white, who have given their all. I can't look at Candace and say that we still haven't done it. So as I leave you tonight, I just wanted to share with you something that I found from one of Dr. King's messages, and it's about that dissatisfaction that I talked about. Dr. King said, "Let us be dissatisfied until every state capital houses a governor who will do justice, who will love mercy, and who will walk humbly with God. Let us be dissatisfied until from every city hall, justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let us be dissatisfied until that day when the lion and the lamb shall lie down together, and every man will sit under his own vine and his fig tree, and none shall be afraid." Let's be dissatisfied. Let's make the prophecy our reality. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Judy Myers, and I'm a member of the Mamaroneck-Larchmont Human Rights Commission, representing the town of Mamaroneck. This year's selection of Lee Bloom as the recipient of the 12th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. Award for Outstanding Volunteer Community Service was actually quite easy, because Lee Bloom is, quite simply, an outstanding community volunteer who exemplifies many of the teachings of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. For close to 50 years, Lee has helped to make our community a better place. From the Larchmont Gardens Civic Association, to the chairman of the Cross County Land Study Committee, to the chairman of the Friends of the Larchmont Reservoir Conservancy, he has made our neighborhood environments better. From the Committee for the Selection of School Board Candidates, to the Citizens Committee for Public Schools, to the Elementary School Mentoring Program, he has made our schools better. And from the United Nations Association to the Town Board, to the Human Rights Commission, the Summit, and the Diverse Peoples Committee, Lee has made our community better. As a lawyer, as a vice chairman of Unilever USA, as a husband, a father, and a grandfather, Lee has shared his innumerable strengths, wits, and wisdoms. And as a member of our community, Lee has exemplified what it means to be a volunteer. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "It is one of the most beautiful compensations of this life that no man can seriously help another without helping himself." Lee, we hope that you have felt that you've helped yourself, for you have, without a doubt, helped all of us, and we thank you. Please accept these Library of Congress bookends inscribed with Dr. King's memorable words, "He lives the dream." Thank you, Lee.
Thank you very much, Judy, and the Human Rights Commission for this very special honor. January 20th has always been a significant date in my life. When I was growing up, we paid special attention to it because it is my mother's birthday. And I'm sure that my mother is looking down and saying to all of you, thank you for making my day on my 112th birthday. I need to correct Judy a little bit. As many of you know, since this award was begun, which was 2 years after the program began, and therefore in 1990, 9 presentations have been made before tonight. And who was it who stood up here and presented them? It was me. We made those presentations to a very interesting group, a very diverse group of people. 4 women, 5 men, 4 African Americans, 8 Caucasians, mostly natives of New York State at least, but 2 of our recipients have been gifts to the United States and to our community from the Netherlands. One of our recipients was not born in New York State, although she spent most of her life in New York State. She was born in Galveston, Texas, Selena Grissom, who's sitting right down here. And anyone who knows Mary McDonald knows that she's from the South. And, of course, in addition to Mary and Selena, we had John Quadrine. I saw him here tonight. We had Jack Sliper, who's here tonight. Marvin Wexler, who's here tonight. Marzella Garland, I don't know. I haven't seen her. She may be here. David Vaughn, Rita Grunbaum, Keith Yeiser. All wonderful people and all having different backgrounds and making very different contributions. But the one thing they all have had in common, and really it's been alluded to by Andrea Stewart-Cousins and by Judy Myers here in passing, is that they all understood the great satisfaction, the great feeling of fulfillment that comes from helping others. And I am especially honored to be included in the group. If you read what the press release said and what appeared in detail in the Soundview News as Judy wrote it, it mostly sounds like, oh, he's a joiner and he happened to get elected to office in some of the things he joined, but it is deeper than that. It is looking out for how you can help someone who needs help and how you can really make a difference in their lives. And the reason I emphasize that is we need volunteers. We need others to come forward and help in the work that's being done, and not to accept the thought that, well, I'd be willing to volunteer, but nobody's asked me or I don't know where to look. But to look for the opportunities to be helpful to a neighbor, to a friend, to an organization that's doing good work, to the cancer support team, to eye care, to any number of organizations and activities that are very worthwhile in the community. So if I may leave with you the message that please do look for that opportunity. Don't say, oh, it's too bad that this wonderful person I know is having serious difficulties. Go out and do something about it. Don't be afraid to intervene. Be willing to take risks. Now, people who volunteer, like the 9 prior awardees and many of the rest of you, and myself, of course, do so at great sacrifice to their families, who've been very tolerant through all of this. And I want to particularly thank my wife, Mary Lou, my daughter, Louise, who's sitting up here, my son, Douglas, my son, Dan, who's in Florida. But in these very recent days, as some of you know, when Mary Lou has been seriously ill and is still recovering, the tremendous help and assistance that she and I have had from Louise and her husband Butch and my son Doug, who've been there for us in innumerable ways. We need to express tremendous gratitude. And cheers for them. So thank you all for coming, and thank you all so much for the kind words you've said and for this honor. And I hope to see many other people given the same recognition in the future for doing even better than any of those of us who've been given the award already. So look for that opportunity and please do it. I know what these look like, and they're heavy.
The Mamaroneck Larchmont Human Rights Commission's Martin Luther King Jr. Award for Outstanding Community Group goes this year to the Cops and Kids program. This program began in Mamaroneck Village in 1997 with a grant from Chase Bank to the Washingtonville Housing Alliance to fund an Anti-Defamation League-led sensitivity session for the Mamaroneck Village Police. This was followed by an evening of professionally facilitated discussion and role-playing for police officers and local Mamaroneck teens. Under the guidance of Detectives Ernie Ricketts and Bart DiNardo and Lieutenant Mary Matera, as well as members of the Washingtonville Housing Alliance Board, police officers and teens were given the opportunity to get together, talk, and look at issues from each other's points of view. This successful meeting led to Cops and Kids Cooking for Seniors, when 25 teens and 18 members of the police force slaved over a hot stove to prepare a spaghetti dinner for 75 senior citizens. Cops and Kids, a program providing an opportunity for teens and police to get to know each other as people, and, as Detective Ricketts has said, to keep the dialogue open. Please join me in congratulating the Cops and Kids program and wishing them continued success. Accepting on behalf of Cops and Kids is Detective Ernie Ricketts. And is Beverly Brewer-Villa here? Ernie, if you could come up. I also understand that there are some participating young people in the audience who participated in the Cops and Kids, and if you are still here, if you could just stand so that we could recognize you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Human Rights Commission for considering our program for an award. I was going to give you a little feedback as to how this all started. And it started with no dialogue. A few years ago, the community was upset with the police, which is normal anyway. Somehow or another, the Human Rights Commission, they were involved. They notified my police chief, Edward Flynn, as to their problems and concerns of the community on how the police were handling situations. Now, I was asked to come up here and accept this award for the committee. I don't know how that happened, how I was voted, because we normally sat around and we would vote on who did what, but they called me up and said, Ernie, you're going to do this. And the only problem I have with this is that when I get up in front of an audience, I speak the truth a lot of times, and I may step on people's toes. So forgive me tonight if I step on a toe or two. The Cops and Kids got together. The first meeting was cops and adults. And the room was filled with fire. When both sides walked out, they were just as angry as they were when they walked in. But it didn't die there, because most of the concerns came from the kids that hang out, quote, on Mamaroneck Avenue. Now, Mamaroneck Avenue may be a problem for a lot of people. When they walk by and they see these conditions, they said, this is the village of Mamaroneck, and we can't have this. So, what happens is the cops are put out on Mamaroneck Avenue to clean that up. Cops are going to be cops, and kids are going to be kids. Right now, at that time, they were pitted against each other, and nothing but friction could happen. What else is going to happen? From those meetings, the cops and kids got together and they shared their concerns. The cops played the kids' part and the kids played the cops' part, and it was quite interesting that evening because they had some insight as to what we were both going through. The problem is the community still doesn't like to see what they see, and the problem is the cops still have to do what they have to do. But now, after those meetings, we both understood a little bit more. So from that, we had a softball game, which that worked out fine. And the end result was a cops and kids cooking for senior citizens. The senior citizens loved it. The volunteers came out. About 25, 30 kids came from the high schools. They came as far as San Diego. There was a girl visiting here, says, I want to get in too. He was getting phone calls, I want to get in too. There were kids, 7 or 8 year olds from White Plains Board of Education, they wanted to get in too. The dialogue was open. The only problem we have now is that it's kind of ceased right now. And I'm sure with Ellen Levy's help and Chase Manhattan, they keep giving up cash, you know, we can keep this thing going. Yeah? All right, very good. All right. I've been a resident of this village all my life, and I've seen the change in the community. Mrs. Rogers, I know Mrs. Rogers, she known me when I was this big, you know. I can tell you where every cherry tree and apple tree was or is in Mamaroneck. And the community has changed. And what happens, I was hired January 15th, 1979 as a police officer here. And in my 20-year career, kids grow up, move on. Other kids take their place. I've retired from the police department as of January 1st. I'm now working for Rhinebeck School District, and I'm going to be doing the same thing there with the kids there. But what happens is I move on, there are 4 or 5 new police officers taking positions in the village of Mamaroneck. And the kids that we had a year and a half ago are now moving on. The problem still exists. So for the people, and I'm going to step on toes now, who think that there is enough for our kids in the village of Mamaroneck, I beg to differ. You're wrong. Because the same thing that we had 2 years ago can and will happen again. There's not enough. Don't cut back, add on, enhance, keep it going. As we saw our young people up here dancing earlier, and I heard a lot of oohs and ahs, oh my goodness. Those are our kids, that's how they talk. And if you can't get down with that, well, you got to chill. You hear me? Wow. All right? So I'm just going to say, keep it going, keep the dialogue going. Kids, keep coming, keep hanging out. If the kids don't know your name as adults out there, they have to know your name. You can ask any kid in the village if they know Beverly Villa. They're going to say, yeah. You can ask any kid if they know Mike Sedano. They're going to say, yeah, I know him, you know. Keith Yiser, yeah, I know him. David Vaughn, yes, I know them. Know him too. Only thing I can leave with now is, do they know your name?
Normal closing that I'm supposed to do now, I usually talk about the Human Rights Commission and tell you how you can be in touch with us, but that's already been taken care of. What I'd just like to say is to thank you, each and every one of you, for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate in this program with us. We've been doing it now for 12 years, and we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to do the kinds of things that need to be done in our communities now that we are a tri-municipal community. We need advice. We don't mind frankness. We don't mind individuals telling us what needs to be done. If there's some things that the Commission needs to do, we want to know what those things are. If you've got some suggestions, you could put it in a mailbox and send it to us. You can talk with us later on. I want to invite everybody to meet out in the lobby because we have some refreshments. Also, I would invite you to take a look at the Ryeneck Middle School artwork that is out there. And again, to thank you and say I'd like to hope I will see you again this time next year. Good night.